business builders with the Perfumery. I am your host, Frida, but of course I'm not sitting alone. Please, sir, please introduce yourself and tell us what exactly are you about.
I'm Rob Malcom. You probably don't want to hear my story. It's long and not very interesting. But the Perfumery is an interesting business. So we've been doing that for 10 years or so now. And I suppose you could call it's the democratization of perfume.
All right, we love that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we see that perfume is the story of man. How come that is?
Why is perfume the story of man?
Yes.
Well, so the word perfume comes from perfumus, which means through smoke. Which is basically, so it's from the Latin describing the burning of aromatic and fragrant offerings to God. So, there isn't any religious ceremony in the world which doesn't involve the burning of so now it's more incense and frankincense and so on. In time gone by, it might have been people as well.
Okay.
But that ritual of burning what was the most precious possessions that those people had as an offering to their God is really where we come from. So,
that's why.
Yeah. So perfume is part of the DNA of people.
That's true, because I feel like with perfume, some people have a signature smell, the one they prefer the most. Someone has an interest of smelling different for every occasion. Like it goes that broad. So my question today would be, how are your fragrance normally arranged? Because I believe that you deal with more about arranging fragrances than branding.
Yeah, so we're a little bit. I mean, obviously the branding is very important,
Yes.
but everything is done under the Perfumery brand. But if you go into a perfume store, you will find it's an incredibly confusing experience. So if you go into a clothing store to go and buy a T-shirt,
Yes.
okay, all the T-shirts are together. You don't have to now hunt through the entire store to try and find the T-shirt.
T-shirt, definitely, that's true.
If you go into a perfume store and you say, I like citrus perfumes, well, good luck to you.
And it's hard to find.
Nobody there will be able to tell you which of the scents here are the citrus scents or the rose scents or whatever it happens to be. Everything is arranged around the brand. So if you say, I'm looking for, Versace, whatever it is, Eros or Pohom or whatever the fragrance is, sure, they know exactly where that is. But ask them what it smells like.
They wouldn't know.
Nobody has got.
I'm actually one of those. I don't know exactly what I'm looking for, but I do know that I have a specific smell. Not so sweet, not so. So please unpack us and tell us through the process of your arranging of the fragrances.
Okay, so let's unpack some of this stuff.
Yes, please.
Try not to knock the microphone over. I saw there was so much effort taken in getting it just right. So, hopefully my office has packed this.
I like the packaging as well. It looks very, very gorgeous.
Break into this, you'd swear it's like getting into Fort Knox. Okay, so what we've done here, so talking about, I'm going to hand these to you individually so that you can see. So these little tags, can you see them on the camera? So these are cheap little things you can buy from us if you just want to know what a fragrance smells like.
Okay. So are these like samples?
They are, but we've got other samples. So we've got these what we call scented samples, which is just if you went into the store and said I wanted to smell what the fragrance looks like, they'd go and find some grimy bit of paper and then squirt it on it and then give it to you.
Okay, that's interesting.
So we've actually taken that one step further, and you'll see they're all branded and marked and whatever. So I'm going to give you these in order. Goodness, these are harder to get into than you would think. Okay, so the fragrance is on the ribbon.
Oh, okay, this looks very nice and very cutesy. As you can see, it's like a bow tie, cute little thing. So this bow tie is the ribbon here. Is where the scent is.
Yeah, so that's been fragranced.
Oh, nice. So yes, this does give a bit of citrus sound.
Yeah, so
smell.
you'll see that's a citrusy kind of scent. All right, now here's another citrusy kind of scent, but you'll see it's very different. So this one is much more kind of overtly citrus. So it's a very strong lemon and.
Okay, so this one is a bit of extra from the first one.
Yeah, so it's a different fragrance completely. So if you smell that one, you'll see it's sort of more lemon and
Okay. Yes, definitely. The lemon is definitely there.
Yeah,
Okay.
but you'll see it's still within the structure of citrus.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
Now this one is a little bit more floral.
And they still fall under the citrus.
So it still falls under the citrus scent. Yeah.
Okay. And I like the fact that you guys separated the colors as well. So with the yellow means all the scent go with the citrus smell.
Yeah. So all of the ones that are, so they're all, each one of the genealogies, as we call it.
And how do you describe someone with
fragrance,
this kind of taste and smell? Like, is it
A person.
Of course, a person. But like, is it specifically for women, or like?
I tell you what, that's a very interesting question.
Mm-hmm.
So we did a corporate function about 3 weeks ago now, where we were asked to give them five individual fragrances that they were going to give away to clients. So it was at an IT summit. So
Yes.
so in between the lectures and the presentations and what have you, and people had downtime, they wanted to have a sort of a perfume breakaway, so people could come and choose fragrances. So we had 3 unisex fragrances. We had what would be considered a feminine scent, and what would be considered a masculine scent. Okay. The people that chose, so the feminine scent was overwhelmingly chosen by men.
For real?
For themselves. The masculine scent was overwhelmingly chosen by women, also for themselves.
Okay.
And then the other 3 unisex were kind of probably 50-50.
So did that take you back to the drawing board? Like, are we sure we selecting this properly, or is it because of choice?
These are fragrances. I didn't decide that they are
they're
feminine or masculine scents.
Yes,
That's kind of an industry thing, but it just illustrates that actually it's
just basically about the scent.
Yeah, it's a scent at the end of the day.
Yeah, not really specifically.
So there really isn't anything that says women must like this type of scent, men must like that type of scent. I mean, it really is ultimately. It's ultimately whatever it is that you like. So let's move on to the
pink.
To the pink. So pink is floral.
Okay.
So you'll see this one now when you smell it. This will have. So this is an aquatic floral.
Yeah, it does definitely smell like floral.
So it's
flowers.
So it's got more flowers and what else? Now this one would be more of a kind of gourmand floral. So in other words, it's got some sort of caramelly kind of notes in it, that all those things that you might describe as being delicious.
Actually, I'm going to be drowning in scent. I already am. Oh man, this is actually a very beautiful concept. I don't know who would have thought of this. It's very creative.
I'm happy to say I thought of it.
Oh yeah? Please, a round of applause.
So
it's very, very creative.
And then that one's kind of more fruity.
Yeah. I love how ingredients actually, the smell defines the ingredients, because the more you it smells like a flower, and then you actually smell it, it actually does give off that flowery. And now this one, it's like fruits, right?
Yeah, so that's got a bit of a fruity element to it. Okay, and then we'll move on to, so this is an interesting family. So this is a family called Chypre that was that was inspired by a fragrance called Coty Chypre that was released in 1917, and apparently was the influence to Coty Chypre was a walk in an autumn forest. I'm assuming it was a European autumn forest, but you'll smell it's got quite sort of mossy, green, earthy,
and very masculine. But
that's fascinating. You say that.
Yeah, it has a very masculine. I mean,
because that is actually an iconic female scent.
So how do you take back the history and make it present? If I'm making sense, like in a way that, like you're saying, it's a smell from like history.
Well, that's the closest that we have today to what the original Coty Chypre is. What has happened. 1917 when that fragrance was released, it would have been made predominantly with essential oils. Okay, essential oils being, so you extract when if you're going to take a citrus oil, you've extracted it from the peels of citrus. You've taken wood oils. no perfume is made today with essential oils because for two reasons. One is you get vintage variants. So
the way this is how close it can get.
Well, that's as close as you're going to get to the original kind of Coty ship, to that style of fragrance. I mean, it's not redesigned to. That's not a copy of Coty Shipra, but that's the closest kind of modern fragrance to Coty Shipra.
And is there a huge market for this, considering how maybe some people are not really educated with perfume? Do you get people that prefer this kind, or is it like a top selling? Or if
it's a top selling. It's a top selling fragrance for sure.
Okay.
No,
this is nice. This is interesting.
I mean, it's that was a fragrance that was released in the 1980s, so it sort of appeals to a younger generation than yourself. This is
like a legendary smell.
Yeah, this is probably closer to kind of something that you would. So you'll see that one now has got the sort of slightly sweeter, floral, more modern kind of interpretation. Fewer notes. So one of the things that you have a look at, if you look at the note structure, and that's another green one, but you'll see that there's a commonality among them. They've all got that same kind of green, fresh.
Yes, that's what I like. I think this is what I like about this concept, because it gives you an idea of where to search if you're looking for something specific. Like the pink was floral, right? So we know that with floral, you've got variety where you can choose from it. You know what I mean? So the categories actually are a very nice concept. And who comes up with the names of the perfumes?
Well, no, the names are the branded fragrance. So So we don't play with the names. We kind of more like a library. You know, we sort of catalog them.
Okay.
So each one of those numbers corresponds to a particular scent. Much like if you went into a library, they could. Every single book is catalogued with a name.
Yes.
With a number.
With numbers,
so that you can find it. But you were talking about one of the most difficult things, particularly when you're buying fragrances online, is the problem of overwhelm. So you take a business like ours, we've got in the order of 500 fragrances. I mean, where do you start choosing from 500 fragrances? And
when it's online, it's tricky because we don't have samples online, so we have to.
No, you don't. But obviously, we can send the samples to you, and they're pretty inexpensive, and we've got some special deals, so you can get 10 fragrances for about 200 Rand delivered to your house.
Okay.
Of the little, we'll open one of those now, the little 2 ml, what we call a curiosity size.
Okay. I like that because it's gonna make you curious at some point.
Yeah, and I mean, look, at some point you want to spray it on yourself. Obviously, it's the one disadvantage of these is that you can't spray them on yourself, but then they only cost about 5 Rand. So you see now that one's a much sweeter.
Yes.
So that's going to be sort of quite strong sugary notes. Oh, this is something which is more kind of in the sort of caramel line. But you'll see that the structure of the fragrance is now different. So all those 3 that you've now tried, those are all very different in terms of the structure of the fragrance.
Okay.
This is quite a nice sort of modern oriental fragrance.
Okay.
So you see that's sort of quite strongly vanilla.
Yes,
so that's the the major scent is actually myrrh. Okay, as in frankincense and myrrh that was given to the Christ child on his birth. The same scent. Vanilla, a little bit of lavender. It's
definitely.
It's that kind of style.
My question. We've got fragrances for different, like I mentioned earlier, occasions. So do you specifically deal with scent for like colognes, perfumes, body? Because we've got fragrances like toiletries, perfumes. It goes as far as that, right? So I wanted to know, do you guys specifically deal with like oils, toiletries, or colognes, or just all of that?
Well, cologne is just so cologne comes from the 1700s, there was a fragrance release called Eau de Cologne, the water of Cologne, which was really the first kind of mass-produced perfume. But it's quite a sort of citrusy, aromatic kind of composition. But for whatever reason, that became the name for men's fragrance. So it was, cologne, aftershave, and then perfume was really kind of reserved for female scents.
Yes.
But it's the same thing.
Okay.
It just goes by a different name. It's just, cologne or aftershave would typically kind of have a more masculine connotation, I guess.
Okay, so
and then perfume would be more woman.
So it wouldn't differ from the strength of it and the longevity of it.
No, I mean, so all our fragrances are all made to eau de parfum strength, which is about 20% oil. Most of the commercial fragrances are actually eau de toilette, which is about 10%.
Okay.
So typically these are a little bit stronger, a little bit longer lasting than what most high street fragrances would be. But again, what's happened is that those fragrances have now become unaffordably expensive.
Definitely, that's true.
So they've done everything that they can to reduce the cost. So, before everything used to be eau de parfum. I mean, if you look at the original Chanel No. 5, Estée Lauder Youth Dew, all of those sort of really seminal fragrances, Aramis, all of those, there was no eau de toilette version of them. They were all eau de parfum strength.
Okay.
Eau de toilette really came in the sort of 1980s when they were trying to find ways of reducing costs. So then they came out with names like Eau de Toilette and Eau Fresh and what have you.
Just to reduce the cost.
Which was all basically to get the cost down, yeah.
Okay. And did it work? So I'm trying to understand.
Did they get cheaper? Not really, no, because I think their branding costs went up. So their production costs came down, but then their marketing and branding costs went up. So the price stayed the same.
You all have to balance all these areas of it. So the pricing also, since we're talking business builders, so the pricing of it goes more than just the concentration of it, the ingredients that go in the perfume. It's more of the production of it.
Well, the main cost in high street perfumes is the marketing.
Okay.
So if you take a fragrance like Dior Sauvage, which is Johnny Depp is the face of Dior Sauvage. Now it's rumored he's paid in the order of $10 million a year. Well, I mean, how many bottles of fragrance do you have to sell just to get back
the money?
To get back the $10 million that you've paid him? Forget about the bottles that you've made and all the distribution cost and all the rest of that.
Designing of the bottles, because I mean, you have to be different, right, in your own way.
Yeah, so all the bottles. I mean, that's the problem. I mean, if you go into a big perfume store, some of the big, particularly the duty frees at the airports where you might have 8,000 or 10,000 fragrances on display. Somebody is there for half an hour, maybe an hour. How do you convince them to take this bottle off the shelf?
Exactly, definitely.
So the only way you can do it is to make the bottles ever fancier, make the packaging ever fancier, spend more money on the celebrities, but you're not getting more product, you're just getting more price.
Exactly.
It's not that the product has magically become better. The product is the same. But it's just become more expensive because the challenge that those brands have is trying to convince you, the consumer, to take it off the shelf and not to become so completely overwhelmed by the choice that you just leave and buy nothing.
Exactly.
So that's the problem that the high street brands have.
Okay. Makes sense. So are we gonna be unboxing anything else?
No, we're still gonna be unboxing.
Okay.
So we've done a very quick whistle stop tour through the four ladies.
Yes, and they are very cute. Oh my God! Only if I could put them on me, but unfortunately, this.
So it is quite useful actually while you've got them out like that.
Okay.
So there is a technique called layering, where you'd wear more than one fragrance. So you'd wear two fragrances together. And one of the reasons we did these actually is that you can put those together. And then see what would it smell like if I wore those together.
Because we do have people that mix perfumes, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sort of mix and match. So you could take any two of the fragrances and and then smell them like that and see.
And it will still make a perfect smell.
Well, it'll give you an idea. It'll give you an idea of whether that's something that would be appealing to you.
So with that mixing, is it possible to take the yellow and the green and then smell if it's going to make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, absolutely. So I mean, if you like the smell of that one and you like the smell of, I don't know, let's say this one, and then you can put the two together like that, and then see does that smell.
It's challenging though, because the balancing of it is completely two different things, but bringing it together makes it a bit different.
Sure, but it's like cooking, it's like,
definitely.
A little bit more chili,
adding some spice.
Yeah.
So you have to cook and choose two different categories and mix them up and smell different. Because I like it, man. I like it so much. So I believe you have a physical store.
Well, we've got at our offices which are in the south of Joburg. We've got a store at the office.
Okay.
That we try not to encourage people to come to.
So basically, you're just more online.
We're basically online.
Okay.
Online, and then we do functions and whatever else. So what style of fragrances did you say you liked?
To be honest, I am more
sweet.
of a unisex.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's a bit of both. Best of both. The female and the masculine smell. I really love that.
All right,
so
let's have a look. Let's see if some of these are... Okay, so these are what we call our curiosity packs. So you get 5 of these little 2 mil samplers in there.
So people can order that on the app.
Yeah, so they order it online off the website. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So this one, I don't know if they didn't give us any scenting tags. Maybe they did. Maybe they're hidden in here. No, they haven't.
And the box is actually giving you the idea of something curious is in the box. It's not that obvious. You just have to open to find out.
You'll have to either squirt it on yourself or just spray it in the air around you, and you can see the...
I'm definitely going to spray it on myself.
Okay, but then you sort of run out, and you find yourself like smelling the inside of your elbow, behind your ear, and...
Yeah, this is definitely my kind of smell. But like you said earlier, that you don't really specifically say that this is for men or this is for women.
No, so that one's a scent like that.
Smells good.
Which has got quite a strong rose note.
Yes, it does.
As a man, you would wear this with maybe like a layered with one of the woody fragrances. So you just knock that strong rose scent back. But to be perfectly honest, I quite like that. That's actually my golfing scent.
Right.
I wear that in the early mornings.
So we've got like floral, we've got fruity, and we've got woody as well. Or there's more. So
in terms of the scent families, okay, so there are 8 scent families.
Yes.
So there's citrus, floral, chypre, and oriental for ladies.
Okay.
And then men's is citrus, aromatic, woody, and oriental.
Okay.
Right. Then you get different styles of fragrance. So the different styles of fragrance, something like oud. So these are soft oud. So you could try that one. So that would be. Okay. So it's also the same. Also got a bit of a rose component, but a very different.
Not quite that fruity, but
no. So it doesn't have the same amount of sort of floral note in it.
Yes.
And then you might have something like this, which has got more of an amber. So it's also the oud, but that's an oud with an amber. So amber would be another one of the styles. So you can have a fresh or clean, amber, leather. Fougere, all of those different.
I like how you mentioned leather and everything just makes sense. How is that possible? But I guess everything has its own education, right? So today I'm getting so much educated in perfume, even drowning in scent.
Well, hopefully not drowning.
Maybe not yet.
Floating.
Yeah, I'm floating in scent. Oh man, we love this one. So when you took out that one, is it also in categories like this in a way?
Yeah, so you'll have a look at the label colors. So
the colors,
all the
yes.
labels. So these label colors and those scent tags. So each one of these has got a scent tag that would match to it. So this one here would be out of the men's Oriental range.
So should we say this is the first step to find out the scent, and then the curiosity box is the second step?
Is the second step, yeah. So those ones are super cheap. So you can buy a whole pile of those, and then they're just for you to try and smell, see which ones you like, which ones you don't like, and then the curiosity packs are ones that you can get. That let's find. There's a leather one actually. I don't know if I can reach it. Yeah. So let's open the leather one.
Let's unbox that one.
Yeah, so these you'll see, these will be different. So leather is sort of seen more as a masculine component. So you're going to find that if you're looking for a leather scent, most of them are going to be in the
masculine.
In the masculine side, yeah. But I mean, as I say, it's not really about whether it's masculine or not masculine. It's about whether you like it.
This definitely does fall under the category of leathery, masculine as well.
Yeah, so that would be leathery, woody.
So this is what a woody smell would smell like.
Yeah, I mean, there's a very wide range.
Okay. But the idea of it is along those.
Yeah, so that one, the main note is Gaik wood. So it's got that sort of quite strongly woody. Okay, but this would be quite different. So this is a classic scent, Mimo Italian leather. So this is a much sort of fresher interpretation of leather.
I wouldn't prefer this smell, but okay, it's very different.
But like all of these things, you've got to try different ones, and some you're going to like and some you're not going to like.
Yes, definitely.
As there's as much part of finding what you like as finding what you don't like. So then you would know. Don't get. So
what exactly inspired you to get into this the perfumery business exactly?
It was a few things. So I'd been in the wine business for sort of 5 years. Not at the time that we started this, but I spent 5 years in the wine industry in the early 2000s. So I had quite a lot of experience in things that smell nice and taste nice and what have you. And I'd always liked fragrancing, and then my mom had to have quite a significant operation, and they had to remove a cancerous growth from her intestines.
Okay.
And that was sort of a 10-hour operation. And just watching her recover from that, and the sort of ritual of her putting on her perfume in the morning, brushing her hair, putting on her lipstick. She was a child of the 1940s where that sort of ritual kind of almost sort of brought her back to life. And I was on my way to China for something completely different, and I missed the connecting flight, so I spent the day in Hong Kong.
How was that experience?
Well, I was in Hong Kong airport, but anyway, I went off to go and find this fragrance that my mom wore. I never did find it, but because I didn't find it, I then was doing a whole lot of research on the fragrance industry and what have you, and then it kind of opened the door to actually you can buy these oils and you can mix it yourself if you know where to find them from. And that was really kind of the spark that
made this whole
that sort of got us into having a look at perfumery and then obviously then turning it into a brand, and we started really small. We started at sort of neighborhood markets and supper clubs and that kind of thing.
And I believe you're doing well. The company in general.
Look, it's been very well. It's been very well received.
Okay.
So we can't complain. Our customers are very kind to us.
I wouldn't exactly ask for the raw material ingredients because that would be like the secret.
I couldn't tell you.
Right? Now that was an exciting walk through perfumes, scent, and all these unboxing we've done on this episode on Business Builders with me, Frida, and our guest, the Perfumery.